Welcome back to Matchplot. Today we're diving into all things Oxford United versus Coventry City. What a weekend it's been to be a Sky Blues fan. Early Saturday, the club announced the CBS Arena is finally back as one with Coventry after years of turmoil. After Doug King delivered the great news, it turned to the players and they didn't let us down either, securing the 3 points in a monstrous 7-1 win versus QPR. After hitting 5 at Derby, I don't think many of us expected 7 the following week. A massive day and massive performance, and we'll break down some of the stats later in the video. A midweek 2-1 loss to Millwall in the Cup won't worry fans too much. A squad filled with mainly fringe players, however it did show a gap in quality between the starting 11 and the wider squad. To many fans' delight, the focus is firmly back on the league. Gary Rowett's Oxford haven't had the start they wanted. They're one of only 2 clubs without a point and will be desperate to get some on the board. Last season they had bright spells, but so far this year they've not been up to the mark. Last season they did give Coventry a good run for their money with the result 3-2 in both home and away matches. However, this season they do seem to be struggling. Now into lineups. For Coventry, after the Derby and QPR performances, it's hard to see any changes coming. Don't fix what isn't broken. The midweek game versus Millwall certainly didn't have any standout performers or warrant anyone being dropped. Oxford, they switched to a flat back 5 against Birmingham after starting the season in a back 4, and I expect them to retain with 5 at the back, trying to contain Coventry's attacking power. Oxford will certainly be aware of Coventry's 12 goals in 2 games, and that will cause them some concern. They do have some injuries in key players Harris and Brown who are important players for them, and they will be missed for a game such as this. And now a look into their tactics. Oxford like to pack numbers behind the ball and sit very deep. You can see the average defensive line drastically different to Coventry's. Offensively again we can see how deep they sit, reflective of their attacking frequency and intent. Here we have the average positions versus Birmingham, and whilst listed as back 5, they had managed to push their right wing back forward on occasion. This did however open space down the flank for successful Birmingham attacks. In comparison, as we saw against Hull, where they almost had a back 6, showing just how cautious they are defensively. They struggle to create, the most shots coming from low XG areas, and it did slightly improve against Hull, but they're still lacking clear-cut chances. Their pass maps are concerning. 72% accuracy against Birmingham and only 64% against Hull. They found it difficult to retain or progress the ball. Their touch maps also highlight how often they're forced deeper into their own half. They do have a slight tendency to build down the right hand side, and notably in last year's fixture finishing 3-2, Coventry were caught out numerous times on that flank. Now, as we look deeper into the stats, we can see that Oxford are towards the bottom of the pack in terms of expected goals and goals per match, showcasing their struggles to create and finish chances. In contrast, Coventry, who have been off to a flyer. Possession-wise, they have the lowest average possession in the league, really struggling to retain the ball and perhaps indicated in their pass maps. They also win the least possession in the final third, meaning Coventry's defenders shouldn't face heavy pressing. Goals, well, are an issue. Last season there was no standout scorer, notably Dane Scarlett returned from his loan. Now even more notable is the fact that 3 out of the 4 remaining are defenders. 2 of those 4 are out injured, so it's really asking a lot where the goals will come from. That said, they have had players in the door to help bolster their attack. Now, something that's very interesting here is looking at match momentum. It's a gauge to see who is more threatening of the 2 teams at any given point. You'll see from all 3 of these examples, they've really struggled to get a hold of the game and have been on the back foot throughout. That said, they have managed to score on the times they have managed to gain any traction. Looking deeper into their play, we have to give praise to their defensive structure, sitting deep and difficult to break down, particularly when in a 5. They will make it very challenging to break lines by compressing space and limiting any opportunities in behind. This does in turn leave their forward to cover a lot of ground, which is why you will not see a lot of pressing with so much space to cover. I think the clearest picture is the game versus Hull, where on average position you had that line of 6 players at the back. And that brings us to our first key player. With Harris out injured, we're expecting Will Lancashire to come in, who will offer a lot of movement in and around the defenders to make himself busy, and will also look to seek space in behind. With the structure of the Oxford team, it's something that he'll be getting familiar with. Lancashire joins on loan from Spurs, and he's already managed to put his name on the score sheet with very limited chances, so he will definitely offer a threat. He'll be supported by Oxford's other key players, Suriki Dembele and Tyler Goodrum, who are both tricky players and can cause a lot of issues down those wings. However, they've yet to make a mark this season and they'll be disappointed with their start. From the touch and pass maps we can see the struggles to progress through the middle and instead opting through those wings in early stage attacks. Another name which I'm going to butcher is De Keersmaker. one of their better ball-playing midfielders. He's fresh to English football and still settling in, but could offer stability as the season goes on. Oxford do carry a major threat from set pieces, however. Long throws, longer than Milan's, big defenders and chaos situation. It's something Coventry will need to manage, and having only conceded goals from set pieces so far, it will certainly be a target area for Oxford. My last comment on Oxford is that they do seem to be looking a touch lethargic, whether that's building fitness still as we're early into the season, and it certainly won't be helped by their midweek game against Brighton, giving Coventry, a team that's already looking very fit, an additional day's rest and prep. Shifting attention into the Coventry tactics, there'll be no surprises. It will be the 4-2-3-1 again, pushing high up the pitch and looking to dominate the game. Right now, the front four is on fire and they're full of goals, and that'll be hard for any defence to manage. And that's before you even mention Victor Torp, who already has 3 goals from midfield. That said, Oxford provide a different challenge with their compact and deep defence. And let's not forget, a dominant Birmingham could only manage 1 shot on target against them. There has been some subtle changes to the team's attacking intent, which has helped us create more opportunities. Firstly, Tom Sassante. His movement has allowed us to create space to attack into. Even if he doesn't touch the ball himself, his movement helps the team progress. He drifts inside, right drops deeper, and suddenly space opens up for Rodoni and Milan to push into the wing. Torp also takes advantage by stepping into those central gaps. Let's take a look at the first goal for Coventry versus QPR. As we break into these keyframes, first keyframe here you can see Liam Kitching on the ball looking to progress forward. I want you to look at the movement of Hadji Wright and Thomas Asante here. They're actually both currently out of frame on the right hand side. The ball is carried forward by Kitching to create new angles, and into the next frame you can see Hadji Wright appear. The defenders initially follow, however Thomas Asante has drifted into that space, so are forced to drop. Space appears on the right hand side and Torp is able to pick that ball up. With the defenders tracking Asante, look at the amount of space Milan has on the right hand side. He instantly looks up to see who is free, and Hadji's clever drop off leads to him being unmarked and plenty of space to get a shot away. The heat maps of our forward line shows just how fluid they are, with Rodoni especially popping up in advanced areas, Hadji dropping deeper at times but pressing forward on other occasions, Asante drifting in, and Torp, well, being everywhere. For defenders it's chaos, it's hard to track and it's hard to contain, and it creates huge pockets of space. The structure is backed up by strong positioning and pick-up play from Grimes to prevent any counters. In comparison to last season's slower build-up, we're used to seeing passes back and forth to a much more faster and more direct play style. That said, Coventry are still comfortable retaining the ball if the game is out of balance. I want to draw a comparison to last year's game versus QPR to this year's. In the 24-25 season, we had more possession, more passes, and more touches in the final third, yet only secured the win with a last-minute Bobby Thomas header. This year, fewer passes, less of the ball, however, our intent has changed. And whilst we had less touches in the attacking third, we had almost double the touches in the attacking penalty boxes, with 37 touches in our 7-1 win versus last year's 20. The attacking intent is more direct and troublesome. It's allowing our players to get more clear-cut chances away, and well, they're taking their chances. Of course, it won't always be this way, and teams will set up to prevent this, however, you can see the intent has changed. It's not just the attack. Without the ball, the 4-4-2 press has been aggressive and effective, forcing turnovers and limiting opposition chances. QPR's shot map shows most efforts came from poor areas, low threat, frustration shots. The only blot was their goal. Now, Rushworth won't be happy with it. On another day at 0-0, that could really hurt. That said, he's still a solid keeper, he's adjusting to new surroundings. It's a judgment error as opposed to bad goalkeeping, and that will hopefully iron out with some more game time. Dovin had a similar period when he came in and he soon found his form. Now as you work into key players, for Coventry it's Hadji Wright, 3 goals in the league and seems to be getting his movement back to what we all love and know. He can certainly cause the defence problems. Mason Clark I think will have a big game. Some questions on his fitness, however I think he'll be very effective in this game, potentially against that weaker right hand side defence. Victor Torp links up play fantastically, he's had a fantastic few games, so watch out for him sneaking into shooting space outside that box. Jack Rodoni, well, we know the quality he will bring. Goals, assists, he threatens it all. Oxford, well, they're struggling at the moment, however they do have some key players that can create things. Will Lancashire is a promising talent, 1 goal already in the season with limited chances. Goodrum and Dembele also seem to be offering bright spells and hopefully they can bring some more form. They certainly seem to be offering the most creativity and the outlet for their attacks. Finally, Mikel Helik, one of their stronger defenders, and will ensure that backline is as tough to break down as possible. And so into the predictions. I'd expect the game to be largely dominated in possession by Coventry, and Oxford, well, happy to sit deep and soak up pressure. This will be followed up with a high Coventry press looking to pin Oxford back. I'd expect to see the same level of passing we've seen against Derby and QPR, mixed up with short range and also more direct to help free up space. Oxford will not make the game easy and will pick their attack carefully, causing chaos from set pieces. Overall, I think we're likely to see a dominant possession game for Coventry being in control for large parts, with Oxford looking to sneak a goal at any opportunity. They certainly have that in their locker. Oxford had looked a little leggy in their last match, and with having one less day's rest with their midweek game against Brighton, I'd expect Coventry to be a much stronger team. I think Coventry will be more direct, and whilst Oxford will have a strong defence, I can foresee Coventry finding space and getting chances away. If we can continue our goal-scoring form, we should have the game sealed. That said, I think with some set-piece vulnerability, Oxford will find the net. For that reason, the model's predicting a 3-1 victory for Coventry. Looking on paper, we're certainly the favourites moving into this. However, it would be such a Coventry thing to do to go ahead and blunder it against a team like Oxford. Not taking anything away from them there, however, I just feel like we should be a team that should be overpowering them. Let me know in the comments, what do you think the score prediction is going to be? As always, thanks for watching. I've had great support for these videos so far, so thank you to all of you. If there's anything you'd like covered in greater detail, then let me know in the comments. I'll do a quick plug for my Buy Me a Coffee page for those that want to support the channel, as I've had a few people ask. But thank you very much, everybody. Until next time. Cheers, guys.